You got to check out my next episode. It's with Mike Weir, CRO of G2, and we are going to unpack and give you tons of tips and tricks on how to be a modern CRO. So excited to be here with Mike Weir, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at G2. Hello, Mike.
Hello, happy to be here.
Yeah, we're going to cover a lot of ground today. I'm excited.
Same here.
I think that we start with you just won an award.
I did.
Modern selling, which I think, like it or not, in a post-COVID world, we all have to be modern sellers, right?
Yeah, I would say even more modern than modern was before.
So super modern.
Yes.
Space age.
We are now on our way to Mars for selling. It is incredibly modern today. Yeah, you got to engage extremely differently. You got to think about psychology differently. You got to build relationships differently.
So how are you? I mean, obviously you're doing a great job of it because of the award. But what's the formula for someone who wants to be more modern?
For us, it's really understanding how our, on G2's side, dual-sided marketplace, how are buyers adapting, how are they engaging differently, how are they learning differently, and we have to adapt with them. And then on the seller side of the house, working with clients, we have to consult and we have to be a lot more advice-oriented to make sure that folks understand how the buying dynamic has changed. And so more than ever, you got to be very dialed into what's going on in the marketplace, how buyers are changing, and how marketers and sellers have to adapt to that same process.
Well, it's interesting. Congratulations on your funding, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah. Love to see that. We went through a similar process, and part of the premise for kind of our next phase of growth that we talked about is we should stop talking about the shift like it's gonna happen or some people are experiencing it. I mean, it's here. It's here. And I'm sure you see that every day in your business too.
Yeah, without question. Especially on G2 with us tracking how much software is shifting, the modern CRO has to be an extremely data-driven, kind of long-term thinking individual. And when you think about just the sales tech side of the house that a CRO has to think about, don't even go into the whole MarTech side of the house, which you all have like giant charts that get 3 feet by 5 feet these days. Sales tech is advancing rapidly. We've seen in our tracking that there were 19 primary categories in 2018, and there's over 33 primary categories today, which doesn't sound that daunting. But it was 700 products to evaluate. That's now 3 years later, over 1,700 products.
I think it is daunting, and here's why. We've been joking about MarTech for years, right? And we've been joking about, having a shadow IT organization and picking technology and needing to go after data. And so our budgets and our teams are, for better or worse, set up, honestly, to be technologists. Yep. But most CROs have a headcount plan and maybe a sales ops team. Yep. So I think it is a shift to start to think about, how do we bring data together from sales, from marketing, from customer success? How do we have one platform, one team to make all of us more data-driven?
Yeah, I think that's one of the key characteristics of a modern CRO is that we have to be working very cross-functionally, right? I'm fortunate that the way we're structured is customer success is part of my organization, and we want to be thinking about all the one-to-one touch points that we're creating with our client base and our prospective client base. But we have to be working very closely with our product organization, with our marketing organization, and other parts to know, what's happening with our customer experience, what products are we building, what market need is that filling, how do we best represent that to folks, and that includes a ton of collaboration.
Now, one of the roles that, we did a funny sitcom on revenue team therapy, and we had the CMO and the CRO in a therapy session, which was pretty funny. But you know what? For CROs out there that are listening, how does a modern CMO approach your counterpart in marketing?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misses that CROs have is not trying to build a relationship and understanding what marketing is focused on. More times than not, I see the breakdown because my prior life I was at LinkedIn in the marketing solutions business, now at G2, and all through that, been working with a lot of really smart CMOs.
You've been stuck with us.
Yeah. And before that, I was a marketer, so I was that problem child for a vendor before. But in this vantage point, it's kind of crazy to see how often the teams just don't even talk. And so there's simple foundational things of we don't talk. Okay, so we start talking, but then we don't actually seek to understand, like, what are you really working on, and how can we build metrics together so that we can celebrate success together? And that's been one of the biggest points that we talk a lot with our customers about, is how to use G2's platform and others to really power your go-to-market engine, not just sales or not just marketing. And so that's huge. Is CRO, you've got to understand marketing, become friends, spend time together, plan together, track performance together.
What do you think the top misunderstandings about CMOs would be?
Oh, top misunderstandings that, well, if I'm doing the therapy talk,
Yes.
the top misconceptions
Yes.
said is that, marketing loves to take credit for us closing deals. When that's not really the case. We just talk in different language. And we're taking credit for the part and the influence that each of us are creating, but it shouldn't just be a I get credit, you get credit thing. It should be we get credit together because we're actually working to help the market see our potential, help them see why to work with us, and then ultimately together we close this opportunity, each of us doing different things along the way. So that's one of the biggest misperceptions that I see happening within the teams. That, thankfully I have an amazing CMO, Amanda Malco, that we're talking literally every single day and have joint planning meetings with our teams, joint pipeline discussions with our teams, and are talking about budgeting at the same time, talking about tech investments at the same time.
And so how do you see marketing helping with your, call it in-op process?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, because I think that's a characteristic of the old CRO guard, which was just like, I'm going to be in front of the customers, I know them best, I'm not really planning, I'm just carrying a bag,
Going
making the
after
calls.
it. Getting after
Every time
it.
you talk to me, I'm going to be leaving a client meeting, I'm going to be at an airport, I'm
In
going to
the
be
car.
It's like I'm in the car. It's so that is more where the CRO position has evolved, and as part of that evolution, we do need to kind of better understand what marketing's role is and how they can help. I love working on ABM programs with our CMO Amanda, and in my prior life, that helps us expand the relationship. Right? Because frankly, the productivity of my team gets better if marketing can help me engage with more marketers, with more sales leaders at our clients. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of people that we want to have conversations with. And so if marketing can help carry that conversation, can help find the individuals that are like ready and have detailed questions that we can help answer, it makes us more productive. It helps keep us very focused on the urgent conversations. So I'm always looking for, how can you engage with people beyond just the 5, 6, 10 people that
right in front of
we
me.
already talk to every single week? Like, help keep them informed, let them know about product updates, invite them to the events, like share our thought leadership, but help me find that 11th, 20th, 30th person at an enterprise that I would love to have a relationship with someday, and I just haven't met them yet.
Mm-hmm. So try this on for size.
Okay.
So one of the things that I've been talking about and thinking about for marketers is, hey, rather than think of a handoff to sales,
Mm-hmm.
we think in terms of channels. right? And we think in terms of the cost of different channels. So you dial up and dial up different channels based on your budget and expense and things like that. You're not going to send everyone a bottle of champagne, for example, right?
Right.
So I said, what you have to do is think about the sales team as the most expensive channel. Because all they have is their time.
Yep.
And so rather than think of, oh, we all work together at the same company and I can just throw them whatever and I can give it, like think about the time, especially of an enterprise rep. That's expensive.
Yeah.
And so anything you can do to optimize their time, like that's a win. What do you think about that? Does that play?
I love it. I know it 100% plays, and I'm going to have you call Amanda afterwards and have a quick conversation because they are thinking in similar ways. It's really why we plan and measure together is looking at those optimization points.
Right.
It's like, hey, how are we doing in just engaging the market, opening people up to consideration, getting them into the lead flow, scoring and qualifying to then get them ready for a salesperson. And it's both, for the benefit of the potential client or existing client if they come through in our lead flows, because we frankly don't want to waste their time either. I don't want to reach out until they're ready to have a conversation, but it's beneficial for our time too. And we want to optimize that time. So the more you can put into, save us time, help make it a more impactful conversation.
Well, this is another, this is sort of interesting. I know we're going a little off-road, but whatever.
That's cool. I got a 4x4.
So we did this value calculator, and the whole premise is more is not the answer. If you work an account that's in market, and we define in market a certain way. In market could also be defined as someone doing research on G2. Like there's activity at that account. They're showing a high level of intent, versus just random. I dreamed about this account last night, and I'm going to go work them. Right. So just this higher level of call it account qualification, not a lead.
Yep.
Which is just an individual. So. We have this calculator that's geared to help people make the connection that less is better. And so we created it, and one version of it was for sales, and it was how many leads less you have to work. Because that's what they wanted to see.
Yep.
I want to see I don't have to work 1,000 leads. I can work 100 and make my number, right? And then the one for marketing was, take all the leads that you have today, and if they're better, then it converts like this. But I think we have the whole reason for this diatribe is you're inherently taught to qualify and qualify out. We, I think, as marketers are inherently thought to go do more.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting point about just where the motivations have come from.
I want to be more helpful. I want to do more campaigns. And then I'm like, wait a second, no. We just need to do better with what we have. It's like a weird.
Or you flip that idea you're saying of like, do more campaigns, but for the benefit of further qualifying, getting more signals, understanding who are the real hand raisers. Because I've never really been a fan of lead forms.
Well, I have a book for you.
Yes. I have my copy at home by my desk, and I love it because that is exactly what we want to help educate marketers and even sales folks that
salespeople too.
Need
if they
to
just
learn
want
this.
a lead,
and
the whole book falls down.
Yeah, we are re-educating a lot of folks who are just from that more old school of just like, I'm just going to make more calls, going to get more meetings,
give me
going to
my
get more
list.
pipeline, go from there. It's like, no, you just got to work smarter, and you got to engage with the folks that are ready. And I think marketing plays a huge role in helping educate and warm up an audience to say, okay, now is the time. Now I'm ready to have a conversation. I've done my research, and as we all who track this industry really closely see, buyers are in control of the journey. They're doing all their own research. They're quote a study, 80%, 90%, 99% through their research journey before they want to talk to somebody. And so marketing plays a huge role. sales has to get even more involved too. The idea of social selling is very real. If you're not actively building digital relationships, you're out of the game and probably not going to get into consideration unless your marketing team is highly, highly effective to find every single in-market buyer for you.
So how do you train your team and measure? I mean, I think you can put in the cadence, a social touch, and this and that. But I mean, how do you hold people accountable to social selling?
Yeah.
Or is it just a training and you hope it catches on?
There's a lot of different things. We start in more of the macro of just account and book level planning.
Okay.
And so at the leadership level, one of the traits of a modern CRO is that we're very data driven and focused on longer term plans. And so I want to make sure every year we are articulating what are we trying to accomplish this year in the perspective of the 3-year plan. And then give people, we use a V2 mom structure, yes, right?
I love V2 Mom.
It's great.
So good.
I've used other models before. It's super effective because we just have to be very clear. What are we trying to accomplish? And so we give that structure to the team, and then we ask them, for your part of the business, your book of clients, how are you going to also accomplish these goals? And then through that plan, it gives them their own personal roadmap to think about, all right, what clients, what people at those clients, what ROI are they looking for, which then dictates what topics and products am I going to bring up. And so they start mapping out through their annual plans, how they're going to build their business out that year. And then from there, it's regular check-ins and one-on-ones. How are you progressing at building these relationships, meeting these new individuals? How is our solution working for them? How is the narrative resonating for new things that we're introducing to the market that you're hoping that they adopt? And so we're constantly doing macro planning and then micro coaching to understand if the team's following through on their game plan. And that's where the social selling is just a constant conversation about how are you doing relationship building.
At the account. So you take V2 Mom all the way down to account planning?
We do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, it's time consuming, but it's very well worth the time. So I'll literally spend, we're on a February fiscal year, so I'll spend most of my February in planning conversations with the teams. My leadership team is presenting their second half plans right now for August, saying all right, here's what's working in the first half. Here's what we're going to be changing. Here's what we're going to be adding. Here's things that we need the business to invest in to help us and our clients succeed.
Another area I think that is critical to modern CMOing and CROing is knowing your ideal customer profile, but also who are you not going to sell to? What deals are you not going to chase? And I think that's where it gets challenging.
Yeah.
You're smiling, so
I am smiling.
you know.
We've been having this debate internally right now about one part of our business where we have refined our ICP and very specifically said, we are not going to prospect into X type of client on one side and Y type of client on another side.
Those are tough decisions to make, though.
They are. The core of what you were saying before about helping the team be really productive and making sure that we are valuing the finite resource of time, that made it easy. Because at the end of the day, we said, hey, we're not going to take care of these clients well, so you're going to put a ton of effort in to win over trust, ton of effort in to driving adoption, then a ton of effort into trying to save a relationship that was probably doomed from the start.
Yeah, and you could have done 10 other great deals.
Exactly. And so we looked at it from the optimist lens and said, okay, at the end of the day, we're going to save our team a bunch of time to focus on helping the clients that we can be really successful with.
It's hard to do, but those are the tough calls you got to make, I think.
Yeah, it sucks, especially when one of those clients outside of the ICB calls and you're like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah, and they're like, I really want to buy from you, Mike. We're buds, come on. Well, let's transition to a little bit about G2 because most people probably think of you as a review site,
Yep.
which you are. arguably, I would say, the most well-adopted review site, particularly for tech. Is that a fair statement?
Fair statement, yeah. Our core is in software. And so there's IT services companies on the platform right now, but software is our core, and we've got well over 60 million buyers that have used us in the last year. And with at the rate that we're going right now, we expect to have 80 million plus buyers in the near future using the platform all the way from early stage research just to understand the technology better, to more of late stage where they're literally starting to cull through what are my options, let me start comparing my options, let me start creating my short list, then I'm going to engage in client conversations, and then making purchases. And
so that's one side of your marketplace, and that's for the most part free, right?
Yep.
So anybody can go and use G2's rich data to validate, is this going to be a good purchase decision for me?
Yep.
And then the other side is folks like me.
Correct.
Well, I guess I would be on both sides because I do.
You would, yeah.
I look at G2 as well. But the other side is really around intent data, would you say?
Yep. Yeah, and so the core of our buyer experience is really learning from other real authentic users. And it's a different approach to saying we want people that actually use the software to share about how that software works for them. And so that buyer experience also means when we're working with clients like yourself, we want to make sure that you prioritize and focus on getting your customers to speak and have that voice out there. And then from all that great kind of user-generated content that we authenticate, validate, and publish, then we start creating a lot of intent signals and helping you see who are the in-market companies, how far along in their journey are they, and ultimately who should marketing and sales be reaching out to.
I think that there's this next wave of, I don't know, call it productivity or renaissance of sales and marketing teams. We're realizing we have to work closer together. We're realizing we need a unified tech stack. We're realizing we need data. And I think we've been I don't say hoarding, but amassing data from things like 6sense, from things like G2, from our first party engagement solutions. And I'm really, really pumped for this next wave. And the partnership that I think we're creating is a great example of not only giving revenue teams the data, so they'll have 6sense data and G2 data, but then also having a way to help them tell how that signal is actually impacting their deals, which is going to be amazing.
Yeah, when you think about the earlier part of the conversation about having to plan together, then execute together, then track success together, to be able to start unifying the different systems, the different data sets that marketing has had separate from sales historically, it's just going to create a very smart and effective system. And I'm equally excited about it. I think the pending and about to launch partnership that we'll have is going to make a lot of our mutual customers way more successful.
And it's competitive advantage today.
Yeah.
For sales and marketing teams. Every little advantage you can get, that's an additional ad that got served, that's an additional person that you knew was on your website, that's an additional, call that got made at the right time versus not. This is my favorite part of the show.
Okay.
So I've been asking everybody for this season, what was your first job or potentially your favorite job, not your job today?
Yeah, honestly, one of my favorite jobs was doing construction when I was in high school. Just a lot of fun, working outside in the summertime, but I also kind of got an appreciation for enjoying what you do and working smarter, not harder, because it is really tiring to do demolition all day long. So you gotta work smart on that one. And you gotta work smart because you don't wanna get hurt. Sitting on a roof, knocking down a chimney, not the kind of thing that you wanna mess up.
You know what? You're the second guest this season who has had a similar story. And one of the things that I think could be a draw also to just any type of outside or just very physical work is a lot of what we do does happen, you know, on the web and in the dark funnel, and we can't see the journey. And it's like when you go outside and you're like, I'm gonna knock down that wall. I see the wall, it's there, and in 3 hours, it's not there. It's like very, very satisfying.
Hell yeah, it's like tangible progress. You're
Yes.
like, that wall's gone. That drywall I put up, like,
Yeah, we don't need to be too mom for that. We can just get after it.
let's go grab lunch. Let's get happy hour. The day's done.
I love it. I love it. All right. So the last question, and you know, you kind of can't get off the show without answering this one, is colossal F up. We learn more from our mistakes than our successes. So give us just a whopper.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say a specific investment type that I've made, but I think one of the biggest things that I royally effed up early in my career was that I used to spend so much time and energy thinking about what do we need to build, what do we need to do differently, and I was talking to all the wrong people. That like I would literally talk to the people that didn't own the decision. And then get frustrated when the decision didn't go my way because wasn't talking to the right people. And then when I started talking to the right people, I wasn't talking to the people that were the influencers, the doers, like a traditional rapid framework from kind of the way I think about it is like I would go to the decision maker and I would cut out the people that needed to execute.
So you sort of swung both ways.
Yeah, it was just like, oh man, I'm super frustrated. I have these great ideas. Why aren't any of them happening? Talking to the wrong people. Oh, going in to talk to the right people. Now I'm not bringing folks along. And so all of a sudden you start, you know, frankly building detractors and people are like, what the hell? What are you doing? It's like, well, I have this great idea. It's like, okay, well, share it with us too. And there's a fine line between bureaucracy and, you know, getting decisions done and moving fast. But if I would have learned early in my career to actually build consensus, to work with the people that were the experts, and then to together go and sell it in to the decision maker, you did your job for the decision maker, and it's just like, yeah, of course we're gonna do that. Everybody's on board. And I wasted hours in stress, probably
Just
years. Just spinning. The frustration that builds when you're feeling like you're not being heard, but you're actually just not communicating to the right people.
Interesting. And I guess that now translates as a sales leader. I mean, there's a lot of deals that didn't get made for that very same reason, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I spend a lot of my time in coaching conversations internally, and that's a common thing. Is like, okay, this is one thing I've learned in my career.
The hard way.
Have you talked to them about this?
Yes.
What do they say? What objections do they have? If you're coming to me and saying, we're all in agreement, then it makes it very difficult for me to say no. I can add my 2 cents, maybe I disagree fundamentally, but when you've done all of that legwork, it's a layup to get the approval.
Well, that's great. That's great advice for us internally as leaders and for our teams trying to get stuff done internally, and then also for the sales and marketing teams out there. Mike, this has been awesome. I am seriously so excited about our partnership for our customers, but also selfishly for our team. We've already seen a ton of success using your data in our sales and marketing strategy. So I really appreciate everything that you're doing as a company, and appreciate you coming on the show and talking about what it means to be not a modern, but a space age CRO.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a fantastic conversation and really looking forward to the partnership.